Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Jerry said today is kind of a yucky subject, so he thought pretty sure everybody would need their aw moment. So that's what he's here to provide. Bye. Off you go. Good boy. Okay, so it is August 16th, and today we are going to do that dive on Epstein, Maxwell, and the Trumps. So I'm not going to rattle and chatter. I'm just going to get to it. So come on down. For those of you who are interested, I have my protective crystals around me, smoky quartz and clear quartz. So a couple more quick shuffles. And let's focus in on Maxwell, Epstein, and the Trumps. I have a question. I want to know what the connections are and how people are reacting and, to the people who are still alive, how they are reacting to the events of the last week. My goodness, it's hard to believe it has not even quite been 7 days. Well, I guess it is. Tomorrow is the 1 week since he was found dead. A crazy week this has been. Okay, so here we go. Epstein, Maxwell, the Trumps. Epstein, Maxwell, the Trumps. Epstein, Maxwell, the Trumps. All right. Those who are investigating what has gone on are going to be following the money as best as they can. That is going to lead them to the variety of people who are currently worried, stressed, and scared that their reputations are going to come under scrutiny that is going to ultimately be damaging to them and their reputations, their standings, the way they are viewed and perceived in the world. And there's a lot of people who appear to be kind of caught up in this to varying degrees. Now, it's important to keep a little bit of perspective here, okay? Just because somebody was an associate or a friend or flew on Epstein's plane, one needs to be careful that they don't all get kind of smeared with the same darkness or the same accusations. None of them, I'm going to say, were probably innocent, because a lot of them, if not knew for sure, certainly had heard rumors and stories and had a strong indication that Epstein was doing what Epstein was doing, and nobody was, stopping him from doing it. But not everybody who, there is a picture of with Epstein is involved to the degree that others were involved, okay? So you need to be keeping that in mind. And honestly, people, there's going to be so many people who are going to, kind of be exposed by this thing, and people really, really high up. There's going to be enough that comes out of this. So that's kind of the beginning and the foundation. The people who Epstein was servicing, I want to say Epstein's clients, and I mean, that's accurate, except I don't know that the people who used his service actually thought of themselves as clients as much as they thought of him as a contractor, right? So it's reversed, right? On the one hand, he is sort of in the position of a power, he thinks, from his perspective, and from the perspective of those people who were using Epstein's services, they perceive themselves in a position of power for themselves. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic going on here. And that's part of the reason, frankly, that Maxwell is in kind of the state she's in. She is hiding. She is gone quiet because she, I think, maybe more than even Epstein, had a little bit more clarity about exactly who was, terrible turn of phrase, it's the only one that comes to mind, who was master and who was servant. And she had a lot more clarity about the fact that she provided services, and that they provided services. So that's interesting. This card represents the victims, the female and male victims. So I'm just going to set this aside for right now, and I will get back to it. And this one also, right? The truth is going to help the victims find justice. There we go. Okay? So the victims are actually now in a stronger position of power than they actually were when Epstein was alive. Because on the one hand, yes, it can't, there's going to be, first of all, some legal action and litigation going on to the co-conspirators. But as far as directly going after Epstein, they are now able to go after his estate in a civil lawsuit, which I'm sure I mentioned was a likely potential. And they're able to go after Maxwell. So they're in a kind of weird way. They actually ended up in a stronger position now than they had before he died. And the truth is going to help them heal, and it's going to provide justice for them. Maybe not exactly in the same way they thought or anticipated it would, but it will. Okay, so there's that. All right. When I was doing my pre-shuffle before I, turn on the camera and start recording, the devil card flew out about 5 times. It just kept flying out. So the devil card is a multi-message card in this reading. I'm going to focus on these two for right now and kind of get them out of the way. So things that were in the dark, things that were kept hidden, the light is now shining on them, and it involves the world, and globally people are paying attention. This is the thing, right? For a long time, there were rumors, there were suggestions. It is only in the last little while, and with the whole Epstein things, it has honestly kind of exploded, where what goes on in those circumstances are literally becoming, they have moved into global consciousness, okay? People everywhere, the world over, who didn't think this was happening or didn't know anything about it are now waking up to the realization that this is a really serious problem. It is huge. It is global. And it needs to be addressed and cleaned out and corrected as best it can be. I have said before that it's never going to be completely eradicated, but there is going to be the energy enough to start, scrape down the surface and do some deep digging and at least get some of the more blatant or obvious people held accountable. So the devil. Let's talk about the devil, because really this applies to so much. Okay, so what they were doing was, there was a sexual addiction component to this. There was a drug addiction component to this. There was, an abuse, addiction connected to this. Like, truly, the devil was just running amok. He was able to create negative, and dark. And I'm not kind of a real believer in the devil as an actual entity. I know a lot of people are, and I'm mindful and respectful of that. When I think of the devil, I don't think necessarily of an entity as much as I think of an energy force, massive amounts of negative energy that clump together and spin and swirl and create even more of the same. So there's that. That's kind of the basis. And judgment will come down. And it cannot tolerate the sunshine, okay? And again, money. Money is going to be part of how this gets exposed. And, you know, right now our focus is on the money, right? It's on those people who were so wealthy that they could draw to them. They could command and demand this kind of situation that would allow them to basically feed on their thrills, if you will. But I am mindful of the fact that this goes all the way down to literally, you know, the poor woman who is on the street prostituting herself so that she has enough money to survive. Or the woman who has been trapped with a pimp and now is trapped, literally. Okay, so it starts at a very low level and it goes all the way up as high as you can think. The devil cannot tolerate, it's not going to survive the exposure and the judgment. All right. There's Donald Trump. Okay. Let's start with the Trumps, okay? A lot of what has been going on. Okay, first of all, Melania is not in the White House. She has gone underground with her parents and with Barron. She is trying to walk away from this. She is trying to distance herself from this situation and this scenario. If she was innocent in the matter, if she was unknowing, if she was so naive she didn't know what was going on, she wouldn't be trying to skedaddle away, okay? She is trying to protect Barron. She is trying to protect herself. She is trying to protect her family. If she even makes a public appearance in the next even couple of weeks, you are going to see Melania, the Barbie model, okay? She's going to do that runway stride from point A to point B to get on a plane or off a plane or helicopter with the sunglasses on her head and just not acknowledging that there is a world to the left, right, forward, or backwards of her. She just goes into almost like a cocoon and she does that stride and that's all you get out of her. Trump is trying to figure out how much stuff he can throw out to try to create a distraction from this, right? He knows he's in a mess with this situation. And he accurately fears that the more this thing unfolds, the more it's going to harm him, the worse he's going to look. Excuse me. So, right now, he is throwing everything out that he can throw out. So, the whole Israel and Netanyahu thing and kind of backing Israel into banning the congresswomen, That was, again, part of it, of course, was Donald Trump is a child and he's juvenile. And if you don't like him, he feels that he has to, retaliate. That's part of it. And the bigger part of it is he wanted to draw attention away from the whole Epstein situation. It was getting too much press. And his name and Melania's name were getting connected to it at every turn. And he needed to change the dialogue. And, Trump is a lot of things, but you cannot deny that Trump, in a lot of ways, has a fair amount of savvy when it comes to the media. And he recognized that it was simply time to start throwing stuff out and becoming even more outrageous so that he could see if he could change the conversation. So I think it was yesterday, although I'm not sure. He was at a rally, and the film clip I saw of it, he was literally saying to these people, whether you like me or you hate me, I am the only person who is going to keep this economy strong. ... As the stock market is crashing. ... Okay? But his behavior, more outrageous, more insane, more delusional. He cannot have the attention coming at him with regards to this Epstein thing, and with his connection to Melania and how that situation came around. There's a lot of talk about what Melania was before or not before, whether, Trump bought Melania from Epstein. Did Epstein, did she work for Epstein before she met Trump? Did Trump, what, that whole connection. And I don't know how much clarity I'm honestly going to be able to get on that, because part of it is simply a matter of, it kind of doesn't matter in the long run. It's titillating, it's curious, it's fascinating to look at and watch, but in some ways it really doesn't matter, because it kind of is where we're at now. Those are just details. However, I will say this based on this card, is that there was definitely a connection to Melania as a group of girls or a group of women who were connected to some of the goings on with Epstein. He has been involved in this for a really, really long time. And there's definitely more to the connection between Melania and Epstein and Maxwell. They're very much, it appears as if they were a group before Trump came into play. So there's that. Dark money, and a lot of it, okay? That applies to everybody, for goodness sakes. It applies to Epstein. It applies to Maxwell. It applies to the Trumps. It applies to the motivation of women, children, girls, and boys who were drawn to and attracted to what what Epstein was offering, what he could acquire and provide for the people, the men who were demanding and looking for his service. And it wasn't only men. Excuse me, okay? It was a lot of people in a lot of places doing a lot of things that were cruel and insulting and hurtful and damaging to so many. The karmic repercussions of this going forward are incredibly, incredibly intense. But you have to realize and you have to understand that karma is about balancing. So always keep in mind that there are victims and there are victimizers. And ultimately, you end up having to experience both sides of the same coin in order to gain the lessons and understanding of that going forward. Is it possible? Okay, probably more than possible, because I just got a really clear visual. Is it possible that Melania may have been a madam in a previous life? Is it possible that she was someone who ruled a roost of girls and women who were in a desperate situation, and she was a madam? So in this life, it's not outrageous to think perhaps she has to see the other side of the coin. She has to be in service to others. That's how karma works. Sometimes we sort of think about karma as punishment, and it's not. It's a balancing of both sides. So if you are the victim, it's very possible you were victimized. If you were victimized, it's very possible you become the victim. It's both sides of the same coin, the same situation. So that's an interesting little insight. Let's continue. The truth is going to bring a lot out. Barr is not going to be able to block everything he wants to block. In fact, Barr is in even more trouble because as this goes on, first of all, there are now calls that he remove himself from the whole Epstein investigation because he is too close to it. He can't be objective. And part of the reason he can't be objective, of course, is more and more information is coming out about his father and his relationship to Epstein and what went on there in terms of hiring to teach kids when he had no qualifications to teach kids. There's more and more that's going to come out about that. And Epstein is in a very difficult place because he has to kind of walk a really fine line where he's trying to keep things hidden out of sight. And he's trying to basically serve two masters, right? He's trying to be the attorney general and do enough to make it look like he is unbiased and he's searching for the truth and he's infuriated about what has gone on. And he's also serving the master of the president and the master of his family, right? He's trying to also salvage and keep hidden or protected his own family's reputation. So a lot of people are really scared, about getting left out in the cold, about getting, sorry, I just want those out of my way. Getting their reputations destroyed, getting them sullied. And there's, as time goes on, more and more people are going to be exposed, and more reputations are going to be at risk because there's just too many people involved and there was just too much money involved. So now, again, we've got old money, family money. A lot of these people are generationally wealthy that are going to end up in this trap, okay? And some more generationally wealthy than others. I mean, honestly, in terms of Trump and his wealth, he is like at the low end of the scale, frankly, compared to other people who were in these circles. some of them go really high up. Certainly, there is definitely a bit of a connection to Buckingham Palace. And I have to say, it may be more than Prince Andrew. Generationally, it could go back. And whether it was a clear connection to Epstein or just a clear connection to Moore and other who practiced and behaved in the same way and manner, okay? But there's that. The girls, the children, the boys and girls who have been trapped and abused, their position has changed. They're coming out of a place where they are not as strong as they were, and they're in better shape now, and there is hope for them. They are going to, I think this is the second time this card has come up for the victims. They are going to be able to recover. They're not going to be able to recover completely because the damage, physical and emotional, is done, but they're going to end up with resources that's going to allow them to be able to at least try to rebuild their life. Yeah. All right. So what you have is mysteries and secrets, the truth and mysteries and secrets and delusions and things being kept quiet and hidden. That's not going to go on for much longer, but I do caution you, and I've said this before, it's not going to eradicate it. It's not. It's too deep, it's too prevalent, and it's a global. So, you know, the Department of Justice will do what the Department of Justice can do. Scotland Yard will do what Scotland Yard can do. All of these various legal authorities some of them are going to be able to come together and work together. But this situation, we have just literally scratched the very surface of it. It is going to be going on for a long time. This is not something that is going to disappear or go underwater. However, a lot of it is going to be going on behind the scenes. So just because you're not hearing about it, it does not mean there is not continuing investigations that go on about this. Yeah, people pushing back, trying to protect their reputations, hang on to their money, hang on to their privilege, their security. There's a lot of people out there who are incredibly scared about what this is going to do for them. And there may very well be a couple of people who, if they come under too much scrutiny, may figure out that it's just sort of time to make themselves scarce. I'm not getting a whole lot more on Maxine because, again, she is in hiding. She is not talking. She is not being forthcoming. She is scared. And that's kind of all I'm getting on her, aside from her connection, which we all know, frankly, to Epstein and to the Trumps. Okay, so there's kind of that. As far as Epstein goes, there's going to be a lot that is hidden about what exactly went on. Things that you would think could just come out and be, clear the air. It's not going to happen. This is going to stay shrouded in mystery. There's going to be more conspiracy theories spun because there's not any truthful and accurate information coming out. So that's going to continue to swirl and swirl and swirl. And don't kid yourself. Politically, aside from the fact that it sullies Trump and Melania, what it does do is it keeps the attention off of it keeps the attention away from people actually finding out the truth, right? All of this swirling and swirling, what it does is it creates an environment where at some point you just can't even figure out anymore what did or did not happen and what isn't or isn't truth. And honestly, in some cases, and for some people in positions of authority, that is a blessing, because well, when it can't be proved that it did happen, it also can't be proved that it didn't happen. And so in some ways, reputations are going to be, salvaged or kept safe. There's a lot of duality that goes on in this. It's not going to be cut and dry, black and white. It's going to be messier than that, muckier than that. Things are going to go forward in terms of investigation and finding the truth, finding some relief for the victims, and bringing some very important people or well-known people down. Truth and justice, they move slowly, but when they move, they can break down that which has been before. So take comfort from that. All right, I'm about to wrap this up. We've got, the tower. So things are going to fall. People are going to fall. Reputations are going to fall. Those kinds of things that were not built on a stable and strong surface are going to come crashing down. It's going to happen quickly in some instances, and then in some instances it's going to, as I said before, it'll come out and then it'll recede and more information will come out and then it'll get quiet. That's going to be part of the pattern. And a lot of people have ended up damaging a lot of people, a lot of reputations. There are shattered emotions, and that includes people who are families and spouses of some of the people who were involved in this victimization, in these dirty games. Those people are also going to be hurt and affected by this. You've got a change of fortune coming, and that's going to break the strength of what has, up till now, been going on. And there we have the final card for Trump. And so continue to expect erratic behavior from him. If we think what has gone on so far has been crazy, buckle up, because he's going to do everything and anything in his power to keep his part of it out of the public. And it's not going to work. He will fall. He will ultimately be exposed. I don't know how soon, but he is destined to fall. Okay, this has gone on a really, really long time. I'm hoping that I was able to provide some insight, share some answers. I don't have anything more to say on this, probably for the next couple of days anyways, unless something really dramatic happens. So I'm hoping that what I have provided is helpful and you found it insightful. For now, thank you so very much. I super appreciate, of course, the subscriptions, the likes, the comments. They're all important. They all mean a great deal to me, and I very, very much appreciate them and you. So for now, take care, be well, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.